Delay. I am Michael T. Smith. This is the Church of, and here is your message for the week of March 16, 2025. March 16, golly, it is happening fast. Matthew 25, we're going to start out looking in the New Testament scriptures today. We're talking about what about your funeral, and this is going to be a key element to that. We're going to end where we end in today's message is going to really tie into that concept. But it's about what you want to see at the end of your life. What do you want to be at the end of your life? Who do you want to be? Who do you want to be known as? Who do you want to be remembered as at the end of your life? And kind of reverse engineering that to where we are. And we've been asking a question, a subset of questions, but this past couple of weeks we've been talking about the question of what about your sight? If you want to answer the question, what about my funeral? What do I want it to be like? Who do I want to be at that place? You've got to answer the sight question. And there are several parts of that, and we're going to get into some new parts. But we closed out last week talking about your perception. Are you able to recognize the God things that are unfolding right in front of your eyes? And sometimes we're so stuck in our old paradigm, so stuck in our old ways, so stuck in our static concept of who God is, that there are God things, God truths that present themselves, but we don't step into them, to borrow a gospel word. We don't enter into them. We don't press into them because the old is better, right? The old is familiar. It's the old wine versus the new wine. The vessel simply cannot contain what one translation says, the violence of fermentation. The new wine ferments and bubbles up, and it goes through its process. It's transformative process, and the vessel simply can't handle it. And so we've talked about being people of sight, being people that have the courage to say there's something bigger here, that I've not reached the highest mountain. That I'm seeing higher than I've ever been, but I have not the arrogance to say I'm seeing the highest that can be seen. And so this is part of that idea of sight. And the second thing we're going to talk about today in the area of sight is the question of, are you able to see the divine in the ordinary? Are you able to see the divine in the ordinary? And that's a major thought, right? Is when it comes to sight, so many times we are seeing but not perceiving. And what we're not perceiving, we went back to John the Baptist, Jesus said, when you were out there looking, what did you perceive? And also now when it comes to the divine inside the ordinary, are you able to, in the process of your everyday lives, locate where the divine is, locate not only the divinity of things around you, the divinity of people around you, the divinity of life itself, but also what I would call the God winks inside that divinity, that we're here in this cosmos, we're here in this universe, on this planet, floating through space. We're not just circling, we're circling and moving, but we're not just circling and moving. The sun is circling and moving, the galaxy is circling and moving, and we're here. And yet, in this vastness, right, of space, this vastness of the universe that is so mind-blowing, we've looked 100 million light years in every direction and haven't even seen a blade of grass, right? We're just, so far as we know, we're just it here, and somebody say, do you believe in aliens? Absolutely I do. I can't wait until all that stuff comes out. But the God of the cosmos, right? Whoever started start, the origin, the word, the seed, the mind, the order of the universe, that love at the center of everything, that vastness, right? That love makes its appearance in this vastness. And so as you're perceiving the divine in the ordinary, in your everyday life, are you able to say, wow, in the middle of nowhere, here I am, nothing in the middle of nowhere, and yet the love at the heart of the entire cosmos, the love at the heart of everything that is and is not, somehow finds its way to wink into my life, to just give a wink and a nod to say, I am here, that God is here, that love is here. And seeing that and having the sight for that is essential. It's crucial, right, to answering the question about what about my funeral? Who do I want to be? Seeing, identifying, recognizing God and love, and dare I say Christ, in the world around you, right? In the natural world, recognizing God and love, in the plants and the animals and the minerals, in the ants crawling across in the mountains and the mesas, right? In the streams, in the trees, the little berries that fall to the ground, in your dog, in your cat, in your goldfish, whatever it is that you may have. Are you able to see enough to recognize the divine there? Well, this is just an animal. This is just an ant. This is just a plant. This is just a mountain. It's a sunrise. But that's living without sight. But sight is able to pause. Sight is able to consider. Sight is able to perceive. Wait a minute. This is not just routine, just because it's familiar. It is miraculous, right? There is mystery in the mundane. There is the miraculous in this monotony that we have every day. And you want to, by the end of your life, be known as a person of sight. You want to be known as a person who can perceive and not be limited by their old paradigm. They want to perceive the larger view of God. And you want to be a person who's living this ordinary life, but is able to see the divine in the ordinary. This is framing. These are the building blocks of who we are, and certainly the building blocks of who we aspire to be. Here's a big one, right? Are we able to perceive the divine, Christ, God, love in the cosmos, right? In nature, plant, animal, mineral, in people, right? Which people? Well, that right there tells me that you're of limited sight. It's okay. I'm of limited sight too. Welcome to the support group, right? We who are of limited sight. But when you say of who, hasn't Jesus answered that question? Don't you remember? The man says, love my neighbor. Who is my neighbor? And he says, oh, I'm glad you said that. Your neighbor is not just those in your perceived group, your perceived political group, racial group, socioeconomic group, national group. You know what? Your neighbor are those who are tribal busters, those that can break through those walls for the sake of humanity. So seeing the divine in people is part of this building block of who you want to be. Let me just pause and challenge you. I feel like I have a point I'm trying to get to, and I feel like I'm rushing to it. No rush here. I'm not. It's a no rush zone. I just want you to say to yourself, okay, God, do I drive down the road and identify the divine? Am I able to see the divine in the ordinary? Am I able to see, to hear the voice of God in the trickling streams? Someone says, oh man, you sound new agey. Well, it's not new agey. What do the Hebrew Scripture says? The Hebrew Scripture says that the universe, right? That the mountains and the trees, they speak of the glory of God. We had the Bible of nature before we ever had the Bible, the Hebrew or the Christian Scriptures. The Bible of creation was speaking and testifying to God. As a matter of fact, we got a lot of weaponized ideas of God in the human translated or in the note-taking dictation version, but out there in the large version, can you perceive? Can you be still enough in your mind to perceive God and love and Christ in the cosmos, in plants, the budding of the trees, the cycling of the plants? I've been looking at now, Georgia, we're in our season where all our oaks are starting to sprout and they're just these flowers. And I was on a walk the other day, and all of these pink flowers just appearing everywhere. And we were out on a walk. I said, man, this is great. And I went out on a walk 2 days later, and all the little buds were on the ground. It was just that quick. And man, if you slow down just enough to realize that is a message from love, that is a message from the divine. That I realized I wasn't looking at plants, I was looking at my own life. Boy, they put on a show and they're gone, but they serve their purpose for this season. Are you able to perceive the divine in the ordinary, in people? Are you able to perceive people enough? Not which people, but all people, each person. Are you able to pause and see the spark? Think of the Christian Scriptures from the Gospel, John 1. It says, Christ entered as the light of the world, and that light of the world that was Christ is the light that lights every human being that comes into the world. The divine inside the ordinary. So today, this message, as brief as it may be, is not just me putting out thoughts, but it is an exercise. It is homework for you. It is life work for you that I am issuing. Some say, well, you're not my pastor. Well, for some of you, I am your pastor. For some of you, I am a pastor. Today, I'm the person that stopped by, or you stopped by, and I guess I'm your pastor for the day. So your pastor for the day is saying, I don't want you to think about just the divine and the ordinary in a sermon, or the end of this sermon, the end of this day, the end of this week, this month, this year, but think of a person being a person who, at the end of their life, it is said they were someone who could see the divine in the ordinary. And I'm one of those people who, do you like mountains or ocean? I can perceive the divine in either. Well, you like a country or a city? Put me in either one. I can perceive the divine in either. Why? Because I don't have to go anywhere to find the divine. I just have to have the sensitivity of sight to observe it in the everyday world around me. And I am issuing a thing, a mandate, a slow down, a hurry up and slow down and do what I'm saying. To pause and say, all right, Lord, it's not that you're not here. It's that I'm so stressed or so blessed. We'll talk about that later. That I'm not pausing to see properly. I want you to start seeing people. Seeing people with intentionality. Seeing people as part of building your persona, building your personality, building the story, your curriculum vitae, building the legacy of who you are as a seer of people. To stop seeing people in our everyday lives as a means to an end, right? I've got to deal with this person because they're on the other side of me getting my peach knee-high and my Funyuns. So I deal with this person, or this is the person in line checking out the thing. Hi, how you doing? Yeah, good to see you. Okay, yeah. Bag those that way, please. That's interacting with people. That's the necessity of surviving as a cooperative organism. I need other people doing their things. I have to go out there and get the mail, and there is a mail person that has to bring that mail to me, or at Amazon, the person knocks on the door and I have to sign for it, but that's interacting. That's people as a bridge to what you're trying to do, or the agenda you're trying to move forward. I don't want you to see people in that limited fashion. I'm issuing you a new mandate, not to see people as an impediment to your desire. Well, I'm trying to get this way, but this person's in my way. So how can I control them, intimidate them, manipulate them, buy them in order to get them out of my way because they're a necessary evil? That's not seeing people. I don't want you to see people just as your mirror, right? Think of standing in front of a mirror. You have you on this side, and here's the mirror, and you see you there. And if you step back, they step back. If you step close, they step close. I want you to stop seeing people as a mirror on your opposite, right? On the political spectrum, on the religious spectrum. Well, I'm here and they're there, and I'm not interested in you seeing them as an opposite, them as a mirror. I'm interested in you actually seeing them as a representation of the divine in this ordinary world. I'm not interested, and I want you to concentrate this week on seeing people, not just today, not just the end of the message, not just thinking, okay, looking over at your spouse or your kids, yeah, I'm going to start doing that, or looking at your parents, yeah, I'm going to start doing that. No. This is not an end of message thing. This is an end of life thing. An end of life thing where you start seeing people, and in order to start seeing them, you've got the divine in them. You've got to stop seeing them as a means to an end for an objective, or as an impediment to something that I'm trying to work out, or as a mere opposite of who I am on some spectrum. I vote this way, they vote this way. I live in this country, they live. I'm conservative, they're progressive. That's not seeing people. I don't want you to see them any longer where you reduce them to good or bad. You reduce them to, mine and theirs, right? To us and them. No, the objective, the assignment, the pastoral edict and mandate that I'm issuing here is to see them as people, to consider them until the twinkle of the divine winks at you in the same way a sunset or a cloud, or you know this. I'm fascinated. I I love the stars. The stars at night are big and bright. I told Connie the other day, if I was ever in charge of a neighborhood association, that I would have, one night in the spring and one night in the fall just for stargazing, where all this, we'd block the entrance of the subdivision, all the kids would be safe to run around or whatever. We'd tell all the house lights, all the street lights to go, just so we could see the dark canopy and see the stars. I'm trying to get a trip up north this summer to some of the greatest stars I've ever seen, were when I was 13 years old, visiting my cousins in Maine, and there's just no natural light around out on this island, and you could just see the stars, and I see that, and I it's amazing to me. Every night I walk out, Kenobi's got to go to the bathroom, I take him out, and I'm looking at Mars, and I'm looking at Jupiter, and I'm looking at Saturn, and I'm looking at Sirius, and I'm looking at them with my naked eye. Don't tell him I don't need these glasses. I can see Mars from my backyard, man. I can see it there. I see Jupiter. Literally, I'm like, oh my God, that's Jupiter right there with my naked eye. Sometimes just naked, because it's the middle of the night and I'm taking the dog out. That's a joke. That's not true. We have neighbors. To see them, as you can feel that awe of nature, of a waterfall, of a sunrise, of a sunset, I want you to start seeing people and get that same sense of awe. I want you to start considering them as fellow travelers. That each time you interact with somebody, you are a traveler with them whose journey has crossed paths with theirs. And now through this micro exchange, maybe it's just peach knee-high and Funyuns. Maybe it's just TSA, just trying to get, I got to strip down, just give me my bag. You're diverting it. Why are you diverting it? Why are you rubbing the thing on? I don't have anything in there. No, not as an impediment to get on your way, but as this micro exchange, right? Through this miraculous micro exchange that you're having, which we believe is a butterfly effect type thing, that, a butterfly sneezes in Tokyo and somebody gets extra fries in the bottom of a bag at Five Guys in Washington, D.C. We believe in those type of miracles, right? That's micro exchange, this butterfly effect, is going to impact their journey, listen to me, for better or for worse. And I want you to start stewarding these micro exchanges as a seer of people, as a seer of the divine in the ordinary. But we can't, because we're rushed and we're hushed and we're stressed, or maybe we're too blessed to be bothered by what's going on. But what's happening is you are passing through the days of your life, but if you are not seeing the divine in the sunset, the divine in the ocean, the divine in the ants carrying something across the ground, the divine in your dog, the divine in your cat, in the love, my concern is that you're not really living, that you will die, and what will they say of you? Well, they were busy. What will they say of you? Well, they had a place to be. What would they say of you? That they had to tip because they didn't want you spitting in their soda next time. And that is not a way to live life. A way to live life is to slow down, to have the perception to say, I'm not going to let my old paradigm stop me from seeing God in the new, and to have the sight that there is divine all around me, and I want to connect with it. To think that in a micro way I'm impacting a journey, for better or for worse. I want you to start looking at people till you see them, till you see their story. But even looking past their story, I want you to see yourself. And when I say see yourself, I want you to see your was self. Man, that was me. I want you to see your is self. Wait, they are me. I want you to see your could have been self. Boy, that could just as easily have been me. Pause to see, wow, I was 19 and scared one day. I was on my first job one day. I've had a customer go off on me one day. I've had a day where I just had a case of the Mondays, and my neighbor didn't even want me to come over and ruin his life. Get punched in the face or something like that. I've had those days. So what am I looking at? I'm looking at my was self. Or they're going through, I'm looking at my is self. Guess what? I'm looking at my could have been self, right? What did they say? Is it the Hawkins, right? It could have been me, thank you. Outdoors, thank you, with no shoes, thank you, and no clothes, no. It could have been me, thank you, without a friend, this is, just another number with a tragic end. I'm not in my singing mood today. I don't have my robe on, but you get what I'm saying? It could have been me. So you're looking at, this is my was self. This is my is self. My God, this is my could have been self. Now we're talking sight. I want you to see until you see them, until you see their story, until you see yourself. I really want you to look there until you see God, right? What did the psalmist say? To see another person is to see the face of God. This is what we're actually talking about. Well, what did the preacher tell me? He talked about being nice to people. No, he didn't. He talked about having sight to start to see, right? To perceive the ordinary and the divine. And I have no delight in telling you. Church of, somebody say what? Church of love, church of others, church of you, church of yet to be defined. I have no delight in telling you this, church. There's a lot of low-hanging fruit out there. When I talk about having a micro interaction that butterfly affects somebody into a change of destiny that makes the world better, I have no delight in telling you it's low-hanging fruit. It doesn't take much to be the kindest person anybody deals with in a day. That's not a lot of heavy lifting. Start with not being an a-hole. We could start right there. You're 67% better than every person they've dealt with. You could start by everybody's in a hurry. Everybody's got someplace to do. But you could start by not being so in a hurry that you don't even stop to look at their name or ask them their name or ask them how they're doing. Oh my gosh, you jumped in the 88% of percentile right there. I mean, you could almost get in any university except for the top 50 with that score. To be the kindest person anyone has dealt with during an entire day is it's table stakes, right? That is nothing. What the old folks say, that's nothing but something to do. I mean, it takes zero. Why? Because they're dealing with 200 people a day, and 197 of them don't have time for anything other than what's going on. Every restaurant, every gas station, every school pickup line, every parent-teacher conference, doesn't matter. That is the nicest person. Do you know he's one? Do you know I think she's the nicest person. You know that they are the kindest person. Do you know they come in here all the time? Do you know for your principal, your headmaster, your headmistress, your teacher, whatever, do you know they're the nicest? They're the kindest. Do you know what I see with it? Do you know how easy that is? Do you know how little sight of God it takes to even enter into that you can enter into the superlative club by just pausing for a moment? It's very little. Well, here's pro tip, insider secret. You're not paying me enough to tell you this. I'm telling you. Here's another trick. You don't need to look farther than across your kitchen table to find someone to bowl over with just manifest kindness. It's not far off. I remember I was talking to John Maxwell, and he was telling me, it was a CD playing in the car, but you get the point. But John Maxwell said he was doing some coaching, some leadership development with a Fortune 500 company, and he was talking to the chairman of the board, and the chairman of the board, in one of the in-between things, leaned over to him and said, "John, what can I do for you?" CEO said, I think he was CEO. "John, what can I do for you?" John Maxwell said, "Well, you can't do anything for me." He said, "Just be my friend." He said, "Well," he said, I got lots of people that want to be my friend. And John, every one of them wants something for me. So seriously, what can I do for you? And John said, "Well, I hate to hear that." He said, but I really do just want to be your friend. As a matter of fact, in that case, I just want to be your easy friend. And boy, when I heard that, I stopped. I said, "John, hang on a second. Stop. You just said something big." I didn't even know if he realized how big what he said was. I had to stop him right there. Press pause. And I thought about that. It took me back to that Cheers, right? Making your way in the world today takes everything you got. Taking a break from all your worries sure would help a lot. Isn't it nice to get away? Sometimes you want to go where everybody knows your name and they're always glad you came. I mean, sometimes that's where you want to be. And I realized people battle so much in life that when they finally make it to home base, right? When they finally make it back home out there, that when they open the doors and they step inside home, that home is a beautiful chance to bring ease. And that thing hit me in all of my relationships. I thought, how can I be the easy friend? How can I be the easy husband? How can I be the easy dad? How can I be the easy son? And I am not always that, right? How can I be the easy brother? How can I be the easy pastor? how can I be the easy customer? I'm not always that. But my God, I purpose to be easier than I've ever been. I purpose to be a lifter, not a leaner. I purpose, even to the point where when we sit down at the table and the server rushes over, I'm so sorry, we're busy. I always say, wait, we're your easy table. You have to worry about everything. Well, Pastor Mike, you say they're the easy table, but don't you get upset when people don't do you right or whatever. Listen, I despise sorry just like everybody else. Sorry, I just don't do. Well, it's just sorry. But you know what else? I don't just look at sorry. Why? Because sorry is an impediment to my satisfaction. I'm only seeing how they're frustrating me. But if I see past sorry, right, and I see into a story, if I see into myself, if I see into the place of the divine, I say, my God, there's a story here. That there's something going on in their micro day or in the larger scale of your life. And sometimes you just need to take 1 minute and look at people and say, well, there's a story there. Guess what? Insider tip. There's a story to all of us. And we're being written on by other people's stories, and we are writing other people's stories. Oh gosh. Now let's knock this out. I don't even know if you're catching what I'm saying. It just I'm putting it out there anyway. Here we go. Jeez, just Matthew 25. I don't have time to read the whole thing, but let's look at verse 31, Matthew 25. We're in the Christian scriptures. We'll look at some Hebrew scriptures here in a minute. But when the Son of Man shall come in his glory, and all the holy angels with him, then shall he sit upon the throne of his glory. Before him shall be gathered all nations, everybody in the world, and he shall separate them the one from the other, just like a shepherd divides the sheep from the goats, right? And he shall set the sheep on his right hand, but the goats on the left. Then shall the king say unto them on his right hand, come ye blessed of my Father, Matthew 25, verse 34, enter into the kingdom, right, prepared for you from the foundation of the world, because the king says, was hungered, right? This is God talking. I was hungry. You gave me meat. I was thirsty. You gave me drink. I was a stranger. You took me in. I was naked and clothed. I was naked and you clothed me. I was sick and you visited me. I was in prison. You came to see me. Then shall the righteous, make note of that word righteous, then shall the righteous answer him saying, Lord, when did we see you hungry, thirsty? Verse 38, a stranger or naked. When do we see you sick or in prison? Come unto thee. And he said, well, when you, verse 40, the king shall answer, saying to them, verily inasmuch you have done it unto one of the least of these, my brethren, you have done it unto me. This is the key now. Is doing it right. These people were doing it as a matter of, my uncle always likes to say, they were doing it as a matter of their course of life. They were just going through life purposing to see people. And they were just seeing people and understanding their story, understanding their plight, understanding their situation, purposing to bring good, to bring these micro effects into people's lives. And at the end of the world, at the day of judgment, God says to them, wow, you know what? You helped me out there. And they said, when do we help you out? Oh, wow, we were just helping out people. We didn't realize we were dealing with the divine when we were interacting with the ordinary. Of course, you know the back end of the story, right? You can read it out. We don't have time to go. But so he says to the goats on his left hand, you didn't feed me, you didn't clothe me, you didn't visit me, you didn't do this. And I love this in verse 44. The goats say to him, Lord, when did we see you hungry? When did we see you athirst, or a stranger, or naked, or sick, or in prison, and did not minister to thee? Verse 45, when you didn't do it to one of the least of these, you did it not to me. And these, the goats shall go into everlasting punishment, but the righteous unto life eternal. God, if we had known that was you that asked, God, if I had known that was you that asked me for $2, you mean that guy asked me for $2, that was you? You got to tell people that, because so they'll hook you up. No, it's not you got to tell people that. It's that you have to pause to see. Reminds me of one day I came out of work and was walking towards the door, and my wife says, Mike, I need to talk to you. And I said, what? She says, you need to come outside. And outside was our car. And next to the car was my little son. And he had this look on his face like he knew he was in trouble. I said, what's going on? And Connie said, behold. And there, in the hood of this car, big giant thing, was etched into the hood of the car, hashtag #, right? Number and then a giant 1, right? Number 1 car scratched in the hood of this car. Not a cheap car. And I just kind of stared there, and I looked at him and looked, and he said, I'll make it like a race car. I was like, well, you certainly made it like a race car. I don't know if it was from Cars or Lightning McQueen or whatever it was, but it was Matchbox, whatever. And I was like, well, I guess you went artistic there, and I think everybody was waiting for me to freak out, and I don't think I freaked out. I don't think I freaked out that day. I really was like, oh, wow, okay. I was like, well, guess what we got to do? And I said, okay, buddy, look, you can't, I see what you're trying to do there, but that's not, you can't do that. The funny thing about it was not our car. It just looked like our car, because our car, also a black car, was in the shop that day. And when we had taken it in the shop, they had given us his car as a loaner. Looked a little, very similar. This one was a little newer, a little more expensive-er, which was not the best idea. So it was not my car that he had scratched number 1, right, car into. It was the loaner vehicle. So now it's getting more interesting. And I said to him, I said, you can't do that. You can't. I understand what you're saying, but you can't do pins or markers or whatever. I said, what'd you do it with? He said a ballpoint pen. I just kind of put it in there. I said, oh gosh. So I said, you can't do that. I said, besides, son, this isn't even our car. It's a loaner car. This is not our car. And my hand to God, my little boy goes, oh, Dad, if I had known this wasn't our car, I would have never done it. And as though, oh, well, if you just told me that, I wouldn't have done it. That's what's happening to these guys here. They walk past all the suffering, and now they're before God, and God's like, depart from me, you're going into hell forever. And they're like, God, if we had known that was you sitting on the side of the road with those 2 kids and that sign, we totally would have helped you out. That you're putting the emphasis on the wrong syllable. It's not, had we known this was a loaner car, had we known that was God inside there. It's not an issue of understanding the context. It's a failure of sight. It's a failure of sight. That is, you don't need to know that the divine is hidden in that person in order to act. You just need to go through life seeing people and seeing that divine spark there, and you won't have to know which person is which, because you'll know that there's a divine spark in everyone. And I'll tell you this, it's not just the suffering on the side of the road or the suffering in a village that have that divine spark. It's right across this camera interaction right here. It's right across the table, the breakfast table. Now, let me just say, I don't believe in hell. But for people that deeply offends, I can't believe you don't believe in hell anymore. This is the only type of hell I believe in. If hell exists, it exists based on how Jesus taught it, not how false religion taught it. False religion taught us that the way to get out of hell was by having, something killed and bloodshed so that God could forgive you, which is based on a broken idea, a partial-sided idea of God that we get from an indigenous religion that we drew over and said, well, Jesus was murdered out of this religio-political targeting, right? He was killed, and then somebody came along and said, wait, he wasn't murdered. He's the sacrificial lamb that everybody, if they sign up for it, can get forgiveness of sins. And of course, all the devils and deception that followed that idea. But if you do want to say, I believe in hell, I don't care what you say, then it's not going to be hell because a person does or does not confess my same dogma, right? Or practice my same dogma. It's not going to be hell because I go with this book or this Abrahamic religion or this, naturalist religion. That's not why. The righteous and the unrighteous are not separated by their faith or lack thereof, or their confession or profession lack thereof. That the righteous and unrighteous, heaven and hell, the sheep and the goats are, see, this is all nations of the world. Somebody say, oh yeah, well, he's gathering the nations and the sheep nations and the goat nations. That's just Satan talking as Satan does. No. It's not the nations, the sheep nations and the goat nations. What it actually is he gathers everybody, regardless of their tribe, before their throne. Doesn't matter what tribe you were in, if you were in one of the 5 good countries, or the 175 bad countries, or maybe a couple of 15 that could be bad or good, all that nonsense that we get from revolutionized religion. What he literally does is everybody from the whole world sits down, and he doesn't divide them by British or American or NATO or CEDAW or whatever. He dividing them by who saw the divine and the ordinary and responded and who did not. Now, if you want to argue that there's heaven and hell, I will sit with you in this all day long, because this is actionable and this is with true religion. This is what Christ taught, not the false ideas put out about him that weaponize religion, but this is available to all. Red, yellow, brown, black, white, gay, straight, trans, doesn't matter. Muslim, Jew, Hindu, Christian, atheist, anti-theist, agnostic, Sikh. It doesn't matter. He's saying that the end of life, that what happens next will be, did you see God? Did you see the suffering and respond? Because when you did or didn't, you were or weren't toward me. Now, if you want to argue heaven and hell on that and go out and live on that, then live your absolute best life so you don't go to hell. But do not buy into the satanic idea that because you've signed up for this false idea of sacrifice, you're covered and everybody else is going to hell who doesn't have your team. That is not the truth. That is not a useful truth. That is not a Christ-centered truth. That is not a God-centered truth. That is not a true religion, a function of true religion at all. But if you want to say, okay, I don't want to go to hell, and the only way I know not to go to hell is to see the suffering and respond, I will track with you on that all day long, because that is useful. If you would, just very quickly, go to Luke 16. We're talking about your funeral, but we're talking about you seeing, right? Luke 16. A story from the Christian scriptures, from the Gospels, no less. So when you think about, when we were responding to those around us, not just the suffering, but to everybody, we were responding to God, you ought to understand then that God is ever present. I don't know where God is. I don't know where God is. God is ever present. Listen, surely the suffering are ever present, so therefore God is ever present. Well, I just would like to contact God. I just wish God would show. If I could just see God, then maybe I would believe. You don't need to see God to believe. If you've seen the suffering, if you've seen your fellow human beings, you have seen God. This is at the heart of the true Christ religion, not the false religion built around it. But watch this. Verse 19, Luke 16:19, we'll go through it. There was a certain rich man which was clothed in purple and fine linen and fared sumptuously every day. Dude ate, and when he couldn't decide between the jalapeno poppers or the mozzarella sticks, he got both, right? Well, yeah, get both. And bring extra sauce, if you would. And there was a certain beggar named Lazarus, which was laid at his gate, full of sores. And all this beggar wanted, desired to be fed with the crumbs, just the leftover stuff that you're not making use of, which fell from the rich man's table. Moreover, the dogs came and licked his sores. And it came to pass that the beggar died and was carried by the angels into Abraham's bosom. And guess what else? Verse 22, the rich man died also and was buried. And in hell he lifted up his eyes, being in torments and seeing Abraham afar off and Lazarus in his bosom. Now, I used to preach this. See this? One day you'll die, your eyes will open, and you'll see yourself in hell. And what happened? He lifted his eyes, and you'll see Abraham, you'll see heaven afar off, and you'll see all the righteous people in God's bosom. And the rich man cried and said, Father Abraham, have mercy on me. Send Lazarus. Look at this. Send Lazarus. Get him down here, that he may dip the tip of his finger in water and cool my tongue, for I am tormented in this plain. But when you die and you see hell and you realize it's too late to make Jesus Christ Lord and Savior, you're gonna beg for comfort, and there's no comfort to be giving you. But God's gonna say, verse 25, remember in your lifetime when you had a chance to accept Jesus and you didn't do it. That time you've missed that time, and now you're looking at all us in heaven, and you're gonna be tormented forever. So if you don't want that to be you, you get down to this altar, you confess Jesus Christ as Lord and your Savior. You stop playing games with God. You get born again. You start serving God until you die. You give Jesus your whole life and your whole heart, and stop trying to know God through your mom and daddy or through your wife. You get down here, because you'll be like this rich man of us. And boy, it filled up the altar. It's all false. It's all lies. It's all demonic. It's not even the context of what's said. What's the context of what's said? There was a rich person who had more. He was doing all right and didn't even need his crumbs. There was a poor guy that could have been sustained by the crumbs. And one day, they both died. And the story goes on to, verse 25, well, you remember in your earthly life, you received good things and Lazarus got evil things, but now look at how that's reversed. Now he is comforted and you're in torment. So in life, you had a bunch and he had nothing. In the afterlife, you have nothing and he has the comfort in the torment. And what does the rich man say? Verse 26 says, and you can't change it because it's over now. There's too big of a gulf between us. And what does the rich man say? Verse 27, I pray thee that you would send him to my father's house, for I have 5 brethren. Go that he may testify to them, lest they come into this place of torment. Go tell them what? Go tell them, Father Abraham, that everything we thought was true, that mattered in this Old Testament, right? Everything we thought in our scriptures that mattered about what made us acceptable before God or not, that we're clipped, that we're snipped, that we don't eat this, that we don't mix this with that we do this on this day. Everything we thought mattered. Oh my God, please, if it's too late for me to see the suffering and stop driving by them, go tell my brothers. It's not about what we thought it was about. It's about making sure we don't bypass the ordinary and the divine, lest they come to this place too. That's the story. That's the story. And so what does he say? He said, no, you don't need anybody, Lazarus, to go back and tell your family. Why? If they would just read, what does he say here? Verse 31, if they have Moses and the prophets and they don't hear them, neither will be persuaded, though one rose from the dead. He says, remember we talked about it last week, if you use this Old Testament, Genesis through Malachi, and you use it enough to stack it up so that you can see a little higher to see God, Genesis through Malachi is useful. But if you stack and esteem Genesis through Malachi too high, you'll get into a weaponized, nationalized, tribalized religion. It'll stand in the way of true religion. And so what Abraham says in the parable is, no, tell them to go back and read Moses and the prophets again, because if they read it the way it's supposed to be read, they'll already know it all boils down to what? How you love other people. But when we're weaponized religion, we don't read the New Testament or the Old Testament to boil it down to it's about how you treat other people. We read it about which people, who's on what team, who's God going to burn first. And according to these scriptures, who gets burned first is not the Baptist or the Catholic or the Jew or the Muslim or the gay or the straight or the trans or the bi or the atheist or the Democrat or the Republican. Who gets burned first are those that drove on by and didn't see the person that was suffering right outside their gates. That now, if we want to make heaven and hell talk, I think that's useful heaven and hell talk. I don't have time to go there, but consider Luke 19. Zacchaeus, he's a wee little man, and a wee little man was he. He was very rich, and right in the middle of dinner, Jesus is having dinner with him, and Zacchaeus stands up. He says, fine, I'll do it. Half of everything I got, I give to the poor. Anything I got by a dirty deal, and I'll pay them back, fourfold on it. Fine, if that's what you want me to do. And Jesus just right in the middle of his chicken wings going, well, I'm sorry, what are we talking about here? Jesus' presence was so full of love, then the breaking of bread, that it transforms Zacchaeus' life. And what's his revelation? I'm going to give half of it. I got so much stuff, I'm going to give it to the poor. And what does he say? Jesus says, wow. Well, salvation just came to this house. Salvation, he didn't come to an altar. He didn't get baptized, christened, and confirmed. He didn't confess Jesus Lord of life, believe in his heart that God raised him from the dead so that he could be saved. He didn't do any of that. All he did was decide to take some of his materials and start using them to ease suffering. How does that bring salvation? Because that's the only thing that brings salvation. I thought you didn't believe in hell, Pastor Mike. No, isn't it interesting? When I said I didn't believe in hell, you had a problem with it because you thought, well, people that don't get the blood sacrifice and don't do that, how are they going to get their sins forgiven? Because God can't just forgive sins because God made the system in a way that it backfired on him, and he really wants to help people, but he can't help people. But when you say people are going to hell, you're saying that you don't need the blood because you think you're righteous, da-da-da. And now that I say I do believe in hell, and it's all going to be based on how you treat other people, you're like, I don't know if I believe in that. Why? Because we like to believe in what's weaponized, but we can't believe in what's actualized and what can be useful for true religion. If you want to talk about what happens when you die, start right there. Start with Hebrews 13:3. Consider those who are imprisoned as though you were imprisoned yourself. That's a good way to think. Now here, we got to wrap this up because I got things to do. Somebody say, you started late. I did start late. Here's my instruction to you. See first. Man, see first. That's hard enough on its own. Just to come to the first sight of, wow, I got to stop seeing the cosmos, nature, my dog, my animals, my plants. I've got plants here from since my mom died, since Connie's mom died. Plants there that I talk to. Somebody say, oh my gosh, you talk to plants? I do talk to plants. I tell the plants, Mama, I miss you. I tell Connie's plant from her mom's service coming on 8 years ago, right? 8 years ago, 1725, 8 years ago, right? I say, hey, she's doing good, or pray for her. Boy, she's really doing strong here. We could use your help, Margie. We could use your help. I do that all my mom. I said, Mom, just 5 numbers, 5 white balls and a red ball. Just give it to me somehow. Somehow, she wants me to have this, right? But I'm saying, even getting to the place where you can see the divine. right? To get first sight of the divine and the ordinary is hard enough on its own. But here's the thing, but not losing sight, gaining sight is big, but not losing sight of the other, that's even bigger, that's harder. Why? Because gaining sight, it takes a minute for you to just sit. That's all I want you to do is sit and say, okay, God, give me sight for the divine and the ordinary. When I die, some people watching are in their 80s. Are in their 80s. Some people are watching are in their 20s. Some people are watching are in their teens. 16 years old, and you're hearing this. So I'm talking about the end of your life, which I hope is not for 120 years. So you're 120 years old. I hope you're here a long time. But start thinking, okay, God, who do I want to be when I die? It's going to start with you asking God today, give me sight. So getting first sight is hard, but the idea of not losing sight of people. Why? Because in our successes and in our strivings, it's easy to lose sight. That's the warning about money. The warning about money is not that money is bad. The warning about money is that sometimes you can lose sight of the divine and the ordinary by your successes. Maybe not your successes, but sometimes you're so busy striving to make things better. You got so much going on. You're so busy. You can lose sight of the divine in other people. You can lose sight of God all around you through your strivings. I'll tell you what else. You can lose sight of God through your struggles. You can be so burdened with your own problems and your own depression and your own defeat and your own situation that however the dark forces can steal your sight. If they can steal your sight through success, they will steal your sight. If they can steal your sight through strivings, they will steal your sight. If they can steal your sight through struggles, they will steal your sight. Why? Because having sight is one thing, but the idea of I don't want to lose sight. I don't want to have so much success that I lose sight of the divine and the ordinary. I don't want to have so much work going on and so much busyness that I lose sight of the divine and the ordinary. I don't want to be so hard and so depressed and so self-absorbed that I feel like my life is going nowhere. And trust me, I know what that feels like. It's been a bleep of a 7 or 8 years for yours truly. And I know that sometimes that blanket of despair can cover, and now all of a sudden I'm having interactions, but I'm not pausing to see the divine. Our success, our striving, our struggles can cause us to lose sight. But if we don't let it be lost, then guess what? This sight, this sightedness, I'm bringing it in for a landing. This sight, this sightedness can become part and parcel of who you are, part and parcel of your personality. It can become intrinsic to who you are. So we see first. Seeing first is hard enough. Not losing sight is a horse of a different color, right? It's easy to get lost in our success, in our strivings, in our struggles. But this type of sight, this sightedness, if we hold on to it, then it can become part and parcel of our personality. It can become intrinsic, right, to who we are. Dare I say, this sight can be, should be, ought to be, hopefully will be something that we are remembered for. I'm going to read you this. I'm going to read you this if the phone cooperates. Give me 1 second. So, my dad has an email signature at the end of every email, and it's a quote. And it says, "I shall pass this way but once. Any good that I can do or any kindness I can show to any human being, let me do it now. Ha ha ha. Let not me defer nor neglect it, for I shall not pass this way again." Whew, man. This is his email, right? "I shall pass this way but once. Any good that I can do or any kindness I can show to any human being, let me do it now. Let me not defer or neglect it, for I shall not pass this way again." I'll read it again. "I shall pass this way but once. Through this TSA, through this toll booth, through this pickup line at this kid's school, through this, doctor's office, through this Kroger check. I shall pass this way but once. So any good that I can do, any kindness I can show to any human being, let me do it now. Let me not defer nor neglect it." Why? Right, I'm passing this way. I won't pass this way again. Now, what's interesting is that's my dad's email signature. And if any of you know my dad, that is my dad. That's who my dad is. And that is how my dad will be remembered. Here's the goocher. Here's the twist. Here's the, everybody doing odds and evens and all 7 of us throwing odds. I mean, this is a weird thing. This is a quote that his father had. Where was it, in his office? his desk. He had his desk, and he had a glass cover. You know, the old desk, you put the glass cover down. Underneath that was a piece of paper, and there was a quote. This quote. So this quote, right, in my grandfather's desk, and it impacted my dad, and in his 70s, he made it his quote now, and it's now down to my children. So when I talk about this sightedness, this embodied kindness, you want to be part and parcel of your personality, intrinsic to who we are, dare I say, an actual example, something you will be remembered for. God. We're asking about, what about your funeral? That's the question. And this type of charitableness, I don't know if it's a word or not, it's a word here at TCO. This type of charitability, I don't know if it's a word or not, but it's a word at TCO. This type of living charity, sight and sightedness of the divine and the ordinary, part and parcel of your personality, intrinsic to who you are, dare I say, what you will be remembered for. This type of charitableness, charitability, living charitably, can be your temporal and eternal legacy. We close in the Hebrew Scriptures. This type of charitableness, this type of charitability, this type of living charitably can be your temporal legacy, your eternal legacy. It's the part of my grandfather that lives on now. It's the part of my father. He's living. I will, and in 40 years when Pop, comes off day shift and start working nights, I will hold on to it as a temporal legacy, and I'll tell my grandchildren, my grandfather, your great-grandfather, my grandfather was your great-great-grandfather, my father is your great-grandfather, and here I am as your grandfather. We all like this quote. Let me read it to you. This is temporal legacy, but there's something beyond temporal. There's eternal. Psalm 112. Well, I'm telling you Psalm 112, but we're going to flip over to Daniel at the same time. We'll hold place, and then we'll flip over to Danny in a minute here. Or Dan. Is it Dan now? I know all the cool kids. It's probably just a hashtag symbol or something. Psalm 112. Praise ye the Lord. The Hebrew says, hallelujah. Blessed is the man that feareth the Lord, that delighteth greatly in his commandments. His seed, his offspring, shall be mighty upon the earth. This is generational legacy. The generation of the upright, the offspring of the upright, the generation of the upright shall be blessed. Make note of the word upright. Wealth, verse 3, and riches. Wealth is money measured on, resources measured on a calculator. Wealth, resources managed on a calendar. Riches, resources measured by a calculator. Shall be in his house. And here it is again, his righteousness endureth forever. So we have verse 2, the upright shall be blessed. Verse 3, his righteousness endureth forever. We have it there. Verse 4, unto the upright. There's the word again. So verse 2, upright. Verse 3, righteousness. Verse 4, upright. You can check them off as we read. Unto the upright there ariseth light in the darkness. This person is gracious. This person is full of compassion. This person is righteous. This person is a good man, a good woman. That person continually shows, disperses good, right? We're talking about favor. We're going to get back to favor in a couple weeks. Shows favor. This person distributes. This person lends. This person guides his affairs or her affairs with discretion. Surely this person shall not be moved forever. The righteous shall be in everlasting remembrance. Verse 2, upright. Verse 3, righteousness. Verse 4, upright. Verse 4, righteous. Verse 6, the righteous shall be in everlasting remembrance. Now, hold your place. Just hold your place in Psalms and flip over to Daniel, and we're going to go to Daniel 4. This is an important story. Daniel 4. The king has had a dream. He's brought in and he's had a dream that's troubled him. Daniel 4, and we'll drop on down to, I just go real quick, but he calls in Daniel to translate. He says, I've had a dream, tell me what it is. Daniel says, you're not going to like this. I hate this for you. The dream is bad news. It's a bad omen, man. You're going to be punished for 7 years. It's going to be brutal. I mean, gnarly what's getting ready to happen to you. He said, I wish this would happen to your enemies, but it's happening to you. And the king is distraught. That's the interpretation of the dream. And verse 27, look at how Daniel counsels the king. Daniel 4:27. Wherefore, O king, Daniel says, let my counsel be acceptable to thee. Watch this. You know, you're in trouble for your pride and your arrogance, he says, king. But perhaps, verse 27, you could break off your sins by righteousness. You could break off your iniquities by showing mercy to the poor, if it may be a lengthening of thy tranquility. The truth is, in weaponized Christianity, we're trained to hear righteous as you're cleansed by the blood of Jesus, which is a false, strange doctrine. Which, again, you know, I believed it for many years. I taught it for many years. And now you realize, wait a minute, God has to kill something in order to forgive you? It doesn't. The math doesn't math. But the Hebrew idea of righteousness is not that way. The Hebrew idea of righteousness is charity. The Hebrew idea of righteousness is almsgiving. It is kindness. That when you do a righteous act, a compassionate act, that is what they mean by righteousness. So when he says, look, God's going to get you for all of your pride and your arrogance, the best thing I can do is try to knock off some of the charges on your account by doing something charitable. By showing mercy to the poor, maybe it can offset some of your wickedness that you've done. Well, let's close back over here in Psalm 112. We'll just flip right back to it. Now we hear it a different way. Psalm 112, verse 1. Praise the Lord. Blessed is the person that lives like God is real, that delights greatly in God's commandments. We know those commandments from the New Testament, right? His offspring, his children's generation shall be mighty upon earth. The generation of the righteous person, the generation of the charitable shall be blessed. Wealth and riches shall be in his house, and his charitable life, verse 3, shall endure forever. His legacy of charity shall endure forever. Unto the charitable man, the kind, compassionate, charitable man, there arises light into the darkness. The charitable person is gracious and full of compassion and giving of alms. This person is a distributor of kindness and goodness and mercy to those who have need. A good person shows favor and lendeth, guides his affairs with discretion. Surely this person shall not be moved forever. Why? For their charitable life, their charitableness, their life lived charitably shall be an everlasting remembrance. So we've got the temporal legacy and the eternal legacy. Right? This person who lives this way shall not be afraid of evil tidings. This person's heart is fixed. They're trusting in the Lord. Their heart is established. They shall not be afraid until they see their desire upon their enemies. This person, this man, this woman has dispersed. They have given to the poor. Their charitable life endures forever. The horn of their strength shall be exalted with honor. The wicked shall see it and be grieved. They'll gnash with their teeth and melt away. And it doesn't matter because what the wicked want to happen shall perish. The desire of the wicked shall perish. My point is, this is the temporal and eternal legacy of a righteous person. So when we talk about your funeral and we talk about your sight, we're talking about your remembrance. We're talking about who you want to testify on that day. Who do you want to come? What if at that day was all the people in your daily interactions, all the people, the baristas or the school people or the neighbor people or the lawn people or the lady at your job? Who would you want to talk about? And how many people say, we had 1,000 customers come in. She was the kindest person. I've dealt with 2,000 children in my career. She was the kindest parent. They were always the most supportive. They were always the most this. Somebody say, well, I don't know if I want to put all that energy into it. I'll tell you, it doesn't take much energy because the world generally is so self-absorbed with its success, with its strivings, and with its struggles that people barely pause to see the divine inside the ordinary. But this should not just be something you have to trump up and say, well, can we find a list? This should be what you are known for. You should be known for this. It takes courage. It takes breaking out of rhythm. It takes something when you're walking up to the ticket taker and they say, say, how are you today? I'm doing pretty good. Has it been good? Has it been peaceful today? It has. I just kind of got here. Oh, man. How long do you got? About 7 more hours. Whew, okay. Well, I pray they're fun and sweatless and drama-free because we could all use that. Yeah, thank you so much. Have a great one. Oh, have you seen this movie? No, I haven't seen it. Well, I'll give you a thumbs up on the way out, let you know thumbs up or down whether or not. Oh, thank you so much. That 14 seconds, they didn't get that out of 200 tickets that day. Well, how's it going? Oh my gosh, you're in school. What school? Oh yeah, really? Studying that? Oh, that's really great. Oh yeah, no, my daughter's over here and that. Hey, that's a good career that you're talking about. Wow, how'd you get into that? Oh wow, thank you, nice man. Doesn't take much. See, this is what the grossness of weaponized religion. We're only taught to talk to people because we're going to try to seed something into getting them to get on our religious team to go to heaven. And that's not life at all. Just seeing a story, a person, seeing yourself, seeing you was, you is, you could have been, seeing God. That's a true religious act. That's an expression of, do you believe in God? Yes, I do. This is how you show that you believe in God. Why? By pausing enough to just see that ordinary and not just what it is on the surface, but the divine spark at the core of it. I got to stop talking. Listen, if what we teach you is a blessing to you, be a blessing to us. If you say, you know what y'all are teaching blesses me. Emails are nice. Notes on Facebook are nice. Oh, bless me so much. That's awesome. Be a blessing to us. But only if you're blessed. Only if you feel like you are pouring stuff into my life that is helping me, then we thank you. And whatever that means to you, whatever that means to you, but some way to be a blessing to us is so important. And we thank you. We really, really do thank you. This doesn't have value to everybody, but for those that has value to, you create value by supporting that which you find value in. Secondly, though, this is what this whole church is about. It's not just something I say at the end of a message. This is who I want you to be. This is who I want our church to be known for. That when you say, what church do you go to? I'm a church of, it's a small church. It's based out of Atlanta. There's a couple hundred people in it. And, we're kind of all over. We got different people. We got people overseas and blah, blah, blah. We meet online once a week. Well, what building? What address? It's not that. We don't really put money into that. We come together. Our desire is to see Christ and not let the old paradigm stand in the way, but to stand on that old paradigm to maybe get a bigger view of love. And so we do that and we put all our religious energy out into the community and making it better. That's what I want you to be. And remember, you don't have to look far to find a way to be the easy friend, to be the easy customer, to be the easy table, the easy son, the easy daughter, the easy sibling, the easy neighbor, right? It's right there. True religion. Amen. Peace, health, protection, preservation, soundness, abundance, aboveness, prosperity, favor, the Zoe life of God, light arising in darkness, the ministry of angels, believing to see and be the goodness of the Lord in the land of the living. Peace on each one. God, perfect that which concerns them. Connie and I, we wrap our arms around them. We love and lift them despite the distance. God bless those we love and those who love us. They are so dear to us. In every good way, breakthrough in every good sphere of their lives. We thank you for it. We agree on it. In Jesus' name, amen. That's the message for this week. That's TCO number 46. We'll get on to number 47. We closed out this section, and I'm not going to get into it. It'll be great next week. God bless you. We love you. Make it great. In Jesus' name.